wonderful day for baseball in Northwest Arkansas. We have an SEC Pac-12 matchup as the Arkansas Razorbacks host the USC Trojans in the first of three from Baum Stadium. And welcome to our broadcast location with former Arkansas All-American Troy Eklund. I'm Brett Dolden. Great to have you with us today. The Hogs in the midst of 5 games in 5 days, but Troy, they just came off a 2-game sweep of Dayton. They outscored the Flyers 28-1, and even the harshest critic couldn't find much to complain about.
Yeah, it was a great midweek tune-up for Arkansas, and just what Dave Van Horn wanted. Some great pitching, good young pitching, and great hitting as well.
The freshman pitchers were simply outstanding, but the Bats also brought the thunder in what they were able to produce. In fact, let's take a look at what they did in the course of the series. They put up 28 runs, Troy, and it was quite an impressive performance.
Yeah, it really was. You see that Arkansas did a great job there. Pitching got no walks and 15 strikeouts, so just an outstanding job by the staff. All freshmen went for Arkansas.
USC, meanwhile, they have won 7 straight after losing their first game of the year. This is going to be a fun battle today because Blaine Knight is on the hill for Arkansas, and he's got a chance to get a go up against Chase Bouchard, who's been fantastic for USC.
Man, Chase Bouchard really has. He's swinging the bat well, hitting over 420, and he hit a home run to break up a 2-2 tie on Tuesday just this week.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Trojans. Newtbar will lead off, Acosta in center, then Brandon Perez at second base bats third, Dylan Paulson, the cleanup hitter at first base, Blake Sable, the DH, Angelo Armenta at third, Brady Shockey in right, Caleb Murphy in center, Chase Bouchard, the shortstop, bats ninth. And again, Blaine Knight is on the hill. 11 innings, he's given up just 1 run, and that was a fly ball with 2 outs that was just lost in the sunshine and dropped for a run.
Yeah, Blaine Knight's been sharp this year. He's Mr. Consistent on the mound. You know what you're going to get when you put Blaine Knight's name in the lineup. You're going to see him be low to mid-90s with that fastball. He's got a good breaking ball, and he's mixed in a slider this year as well, Brett.
So Blaine ready to go. You see his numbers from a year ago, and there's the scouting report on Mr. Knight. Fastball's been about 92, 93. He was asked earlier this week if he's not quite at full strength, and he said, no, I'll be up in the 96 range as we get a little deeper in the season. But he's been sitting about 91 to 93-ish so far.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit left in the tank, so you might see it early on in this ball game. He might let the Trojans see what he's got.
It's a 61-degree afternoon in Fayetteville. Pac-12 SEC matchup. As Lars Newtbar, the left fielder, steps in to begin things. So from the full windup, Blaine Knight is ready, and we are underway. And up there, first pitch swinging is Newtbar, and he drives one towards right, but Cole back shy of the track. 1 pitch, 1 out from a normally patient USC team.
Yeah, I was just about ready to say this team averages over 6 walks a game, so I thought they were going to be very patient, but they gave Newtbar the green light. He saw something he liked, just got a little bit underneath that one.
Night start last Friday came against Cal Poly. That was the game that Arkansas would lose, which was part of the frustration. In fact, they never had a lead in that game. But their only run he allowed again was a fly ball that was lost in the sun with 2 outs. As Matthew Acosta, the center fielder, steps in. Trojans lost their first game of the season to Utah Valley 5-1. Then they've run off 7 straight wins. And this starts a stretch of not only 3 here in Arkansas, but they'll have TCU, Vanderbilt, and UCLA next weekend at Dodger Stadium.
95 in that last ball by Blaine Knight. Kind of overthrew a little bit. Kind of bounced that one in the dirt right before it got to Cook.
Liner headed to right, and that's a base hit. Acosta singles over the head of Shaddy. And a base runner for USC.
Well, the Trojans know that Blaine Knight is going to live and die by that fastball. He's going to go right at the Trojans, and they're going to be aggressive when they see something they like.
Here's Brandon Perez, the second baseman. hitting .308 on the season, an all Pac-12 performer a year ago when he batted .328. And the pitch is down and out. One thing about Blaine Knight in that first inning, he was maybe not happy with the strike zone last Friday, Troy, and I think he had a pretty good beef, but he said earlier this week he felt like he was off on his separation in the windup in the first inning. And Wes Johnson says basically that's Blaine being amped up, taking that ball out of his glove a little bit late, breaking late, and normally then the pitches were up in the zone and high.
Yeah, that's going to have his arm kind of dragging through the zone. He tries to catch it up, and you're going to be consistently high. Southern Cal, not a team that runs a lot. 5 of 9 so far early on in this young season.
And Acosta at first has not attempted a steal. You see a pretty short lead, extends that just a bit. And a wave and a miss.
A really good slider by Knight right there. You see this ball start on the outside corner and then just dive down and away. Just picture perfect location. That's what you're going to get out of Blaine Knight. You can tell he's an upperclassman, junior this season, and those guys kind of get more and more like big league pitchers each and every year. That control gets that much better.
2-strike pitch. And Perez wouldn't chase.
Good adjustment by Perez not to chase the same pitch that he went for the pitch previous.
So a fly out to right and a base hit here in the top of the first inning. Blaine at 94, missed down and out. 11 strikeouts in 11 innings, but he's run the count as far as it'll go to Perez.
Just doesn't look fluid with that fastball as of yet. You know the mechanics are going to get there, but when you see him down the zone, sometimes he'll jerk that fastball, kind of overthrow it. It's going to be interesting to see if USC doesn't try to start the run right here, maybe try to stay out of a double play.
Grant Cook has not been tested much behind the plate. Throw to first, they got him laid in, and he's not picked off. I don't know if the throw was wide or Gates just jumped.
They're going to call a balk on Blaine Knight, home plate umpire. Marcus Patillo is going to say Knight balked. Dave Van Horn's going to come out and get an explanation from the home plate umpire Patillo. He said, hey, how come the first base umpire doesn't call that? How do you see it from home plate? I think he's got a good beef right there.
I don't see it.
Well, I think it's what Blaine got called in before. He'll kind of collapse that front leg, that left knee, and a lot of base runners will either focus on the back of that left knee and he'll kind of let it break just a little bit and then he'll go to first. So,
but he does that sometimes when he pitches to the plate anyhow.
Right. But I think that's what they're catching him on. I think it's considered the deception of that move.
Could be considered a move in towards the plate. Pretty good battle here with Perez and Blaine Knight. The foul ball back to the top of the screen.
Blaine tried to throw a backdoor curveball on him. Perez fouled off a pretty good pitch right there. Wouldn't be surprised if Blaine Knight doesn't go back to the fastball right here. When he throws the fastball, he likes it on the outside corner at the knees.
Perez might be the most dangerous hitter in this USC lineup, making Knight work. got the breaking ball and hit a foul. USC was able to travel and get here last night. They worked out in the indoor facility next door to Baum Stadium. Ready for a 3-game weekend series here in SEC country. Runner at second is Acosta. He singled, advanced to second on a balk. Blaine really deliberate between pitches. Another 3-2. And another foul ball back over the roof. Defensively for the Hogs, similar looking outfield today of Kerstad, Fletcher, and Cole. Martin back at third. Biggers and Shaddy up the middle. Gates has become a regular at first. And Cook behind the plate. Of course, catching Blaine Knight. Hope hits caught yesterday against State.
If you're Casey Martin, you hit 2 home runs, you get put back in the lineup.
Usually works that way.
Yeah.
You hit, you do not sit. Blaine really trying to finish off Perez, and he just hit him on the hand. And that's the all Pac-12 first baseman. USC's already lost their starting shortstop to a broken hand on a pitch that rode too far inside.
Boy, that is tough. Depending on where it got him, that's where you break that hamate bone that you see. That's actually happened to Jared Gates last season. They just went in there instead of trying to do surgery, they just removed it. So he doesn't have one in his right hand.
Blaine invested several pitches in that sequence before hitting Perez. He shook off the sting for the time being. As I say that, a little bit of a grimace.
You have to use your teeth to get your batting glove off because you can't even use your other hand. Can't feel it. Let's see if that doesn't come back to when Perez is next at bat, or even if he has to try to throw the ball across the infield somewhere. Knight sure could use a ground ball right here. Runners at first and second. Trojans got something brewing here in the first.
Dylan Paulson, the first baseman, hitting over 300 with a home run. We expect USC to be willing to take, especially if Knight is not pounding the zone.
Little surprised because Blaine Knight's one of those guys, usually he doesn't pitch backwards. He doesn't throw a lot of off-speed pitches and really relies on that fastball and location. Really been going a lot of off-speed. That was a straight change on the first pitch to Paulson.
This should be the second out. Biggers really starts to backpedal early. He'll get there for out number 2. Kind of a helpless feeling when you start that backpedal.
Looks like he was on a bicycle, a unicycle, just pedaling backwards as fast as he could go.
Awfully close to an infield fly, but then that ball started to drift further into shallow left. So Blaine may be back on track, 1 out away from stranding 2 Trojans here in the top of the first. Blake Sable, the DH, steps in, hitting .321 for a team collectively batting .276.
Sable with an open stance and pretty far off the plate. That's usually a sign of a guy that doesn't like the ball in as much. Give himself a better chance to turn on one. That's why Blake went right inside with that last fastball.
Sable, a sophomore, was in 40 games last season for a team that's pretty young in USC, but again, winners of 7 straight.
Again, Blaine Knight is incredibly deliberate on the mound.
Slower and slower between pitches. Pitch for a strike at 93.
So college baseball does have a pitch clock. The only thing is it's only in effect when there's no one on base. So 20 seconds in between pitches with nobody on. When you're on, you can take as long as you want. Blaine is definitely milk of the clock. It doesn't exist right now, isn't he?
Just sits there stuck at 20 on the scoreboard. So a single, a balk, and a hit batter this inning. That should be a swing. Doesn't matter, strike called.
Good location right underneath the hands. There's that slider again. Seems like he's liking the slider today a little more than the curveball. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't try to climb the ladder, try to throw this one about letter high or maybe even bill high.
Knight gets strike 3 called. Sable thought it was down and in. Blaine with the K. And the Trojans strand a pair in the top of the first. And the Hogs coming into bat. Here's the Arkansas batting lineup today. Biggers, Colden, Kerstead, the three Texans leading off. Then Bonfield, the DH. Fletcher in center. Cook behind the plate. Jared Gates at first. Carson Shanny batting eighth, and Casey Martin, the third baseman, hits ninth despite a huge series against Dayton.
Kind of like a second leadoff hitter for Dave Van Horn with the speed he has. The Trojans are going to run out 6'7" Chris Clark on the mound. Clark will be in the upper 80s to low 90s. His best pitch is a changeup, and he'll not afraid to use that. Arkansas hitters, at least they're a little bit used to that, hitting off at Jackson Rutledge at 6'8" during the fall and early spring. So that height is not going to bother them too much. He needs to keep that ball down in the zone. The Trojans know that Arkansas likes to lift the baseball and get a lot of launch angle is a big term for Arkansas.
Biggers will take a pitch at the belt for a strike at 93. Jack's hitting at even 300.
Biggers hit a cool 338 a season ago. They knew they had a great shortstop with the glove, and the bat was a real surprise.
He's coming off a rare day off. Didn't play yesterday as Casey Martin and Jack Kenley were on the left side of the diamond. Chris Clark has given up 6 earned runs in 11 innings. Somebody with that size and that frame that needs to work downhill. And as Dan Hubbs, the head coach, said, if he works low in the zone, we're in good shape.
A lot of times it's tough for those big guys to pitch down in the strike zone. It's one bad thing about height. Kind of magnifies flaws in your mechanics. If there are any. Got those shoes back down over the heel. It's kind of the look that a lot of guys like these days, but I think that would drive me crazy.
Biggers bloops one out in the shallow center, and it will drop for a base hit. Jack's had a real good BP when I was on the field before the game, just spraying the ball around the yard, and deposits one in front of Acosta for the Hogs' first hit.
I was just about ready to make a comment about how shallow the Trojan outfit was playing against Biggers. The Biggers still got that one blooped in there. I tell you, sometimes you better lucky and you say, oh, it looked like a rocket in the book just to get jammed.
Hogs haven't run a lot this year, but they are perfect in stolen base attempts, 7 for 7. Here's Eric Cole, the right fielder. Switch hitter batting lefty. Cole hitting .355, couple of home runs. .90-mile-an-hour fastball gets the swing and the miss.
Pretty good run on that last fastball by Clark. Biggers had a very, very safely, kind of one of those, not even have to take a step, just fall down and you're going to get back to the bag.
Being held on by Paulson. Armenta in a couple of steps at third base. Cole's been a bit tardy on those last two swings.
Yeah, he sure has, and you can tell the difference of defensive positioning with these West Coast teams. They think first inning that Arkansas might bunt. That's definitely not the case with this Dave Van Horn team. They're playing third baseman even with the bag, and I think he's just putting his life in jeopardy down there.
Well, he's just backed up 10 feet, too.
2 strikes.
But in this ballpark, unlike maybe those West Coast parks, Hawks will be swinging for the fences. Biggers runs. Pitches outside. A good pitch to handle, but the throw wasn't close by Murphy. Second bag of the year for Jacks. Take a look at the defense for the Trojans behind Chris Clark today. Newtbar in left, Acosta and Shockey, their outfielders. Armenta, Bouchard on the left side of the diamond. Perez and Paulson second and first. Caleb Murphy just made that high throw behind the plate.
Looked like Murphy kind of dropped his elbow on that throw. Didn't get on top of the baseball, and that's why it sailed on him.
He's got a strong arm, but he just wasn't accurate. So the count 2-2 to Cole. Strokes one to left field, but playing in was Newtbar. And he got there quickly to make the catch, and Biggers returns to second.
It's one of those at-bats as a batter. You're mad you made an out, but you're happy you hit the ball square. Talking about hitting the ball square. That's what Heston Kjerstad does almost every time the young man steps up to the plate.
Hit a mammoth home run yesterday that cleared the bullpen in right, and we're not sure where it landed. It was estimated in the paper today at about 420. And I would say it was every bit that.
I was predicting Westport, the town south of Fayetteville.
Drove in 4 more runs yesterday to Kjerstad. Been in the 3-hole since coming back from the West Coast. Started the season batting 5th. That pitch had a lot of run in to Heston for a ball.
Teams aren't afraid to pitch Heston in. They've plunked him 7 times already this season.
Pitch for a strike. Nicholas Clark trying to work around that leadoff base hit by Biggers.
Defense swung around just a little bit. The center fielder's playing just to the right of second base, trying to cut that ball off in the gap.
Kjerstad takes one high. USC stranded a couple of runners in the top of the first inning. Now it's 3-1.
Kind of looks like the same approach that Arkansas had against Dayton. Made sure they got the pitch they wanted and didn't cut loose when they did. A little over aggressive on that San Diego trip. Looked like they made the adjustment, kind of getting back to hitting hitters' pitches.
Big swing on 3-1. Great crowd is assembled on this beautiful Friday afternoon. Fans still filing in. Few played hooky, though, both from work and school.
We saw a lot of kids here. Some good parents. Get them down to the ballpark. Let's bring that homework home, right?
Kerstead ready for a 3-2. That one lifted back and out of play. Been looking at that swing for a couple of weeks, and it's been fun to watch with Kerstead, Troy. And you try and put a comp on everybody, whether it's fair or not. And it's not necessarily with their talents, but maybe something that it just reminds you of physically. You see any Will Clark in Kerstead?
Yeah, a little bit. Kind of that when you finish real high and just that sweet left-handed swing. I don't know, there's something about left-handed hitters that look better than a right-handed hitter.
Ground ball to the right side. Paulson comes up with it. He will feed Clark, who wins the race to the bag for the second out of the inning as Biggers goes to third. So Kerstead retired.
Clark almost missed first base right there. I don't know if he must have caught it with his heel. That was a really good play by Paulson. Spears that ball. Yeah, he stepped right on it. My bad.
I think Kerstead may have stepped on the back of his shoe after he crossed first base.
Not sure if Paulson gets to that ball if he's a right-handed first baseman. Has that fielding glove on the left-hand side, it's hit to that same side and makes it a lot easier.
Clark trying to strand a runner at third base. Here's Luke Bonfield, the cleanup hitter. Pitch looked like it might drift away, but it was called a strike.
It's going like I'm going to get me over fastball. 86 on that last one.
Bonfield not only doubled yesterday, he had a catcher's interference where he nearly took the arm of the catcher with him. Bonfield strokes one rather deep to left field. This ball's going to go! It's gone! A two-run homer! Second of the year for Bonfield, and the Hogs strike first.
83 long balls a season ago for Arkansas. Dave Van Horn talked about his team. He said, you know what, I really don't think we're going to slip too much as far as the power. You can see the reaction of Dave Van Horn in the background right there. He said, go, and it sure it got up. Bonfield, the senior out of Skillman, New Jersey, with the big two-run homer for Arkansas.
16 on the season for the Hogs. Coach Hubbs up on the top step. Former pitcher at USC calls the pitches for the Trojans. And now Dominic Fletcher, California native, takes one for a ball. Fletcher's fallen below 200 on the year, 194 with a couple of home runs. Ground ball that's snagged by Clark. That'll dispose of Fletcher and end the inning. Hogs get a couple of runs on one big swing from Luke Bonfield. And after an inning, 2-0 Arkansas. Hogs strike with a pair of runs on the Bonfield homer in the bottom of the first inning. It's something they did early and often in the recently completed series with Dayton. Troy, how about those numbers?
Well, they're impressive. The bats were out in full force, 29 runs in 2 ball games, but more impressively was the 5 freshman pitchers that threw no earned runs, 15 strikeouts. They were spot on. So those are guys who are going to be conference starters a season from now, like Caleb Bolden and Bryce Bonin.
Arkansas pitchers drove in more runs in the series, 1 than they allowed earned runs, 0.
Yeah, Cole Ramage, there's some movements by Dave Van Horn around the diamond, and that allowed them to lose their DH. So Ramage had to come in and hit, and the pitchers were giving him grief because he took the first 2 pitches, worked the count to 2-2, and then ripped a base hit RBI single to left field. So he's the man now, isn't he, Brad?
The man who really enjoyed it was Blaine Knight. He's on the hill and pumps in strike one at 95 on the radar gun. USC head coach Dan Hubb said Blaine can be in attack mode with that fastball at times. We expected USC hitters to be patient, especially, Troy, once you get to the bottom of the lineup. And we're 6, 7, and 8 this inning for USC.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they want to really try to extend Blaine Knight's pitch count, get that pitch count up and get to the bullpen. I don't think it's a bad strategy at all.
Arm side run, and that pitch missed outside. Is that the changeup?
Yeah, changeup at 85. It's a pretty hard changeup, but it had definitely some good movement.
It was a pitch he talked a lot about in the fall that he threw an excessive amount of to try and add that third pitch, that off-speed pitch. He comes back with a fastball, and you could see Armenta late on that one.
So if I'm Blaine Knight or Grant Cook, Grant Cook calls his own pitches, which is very rare in the college game. But if I see a guy that late, then I'm going to make him catch up. I'm not going to speed his bat up with a changeup right here. I'm going to keep throwing that fastball until he proves me he can hit it.
And he does hit the fastball up the middle on the ground for a base hit. So the second hit for the Trojans.
Fastball right down the middle. Armenta doesn't miss it. I like how he stayed on top of that baseball and didn't try to pull it, didn't try to do too much. It's kind of on the outer third of the plate. If you try to pull it, that's going to be a ground ball to Shaddy.
Blaine just caught too much of the plate. Brady Shockey, the right fielder, the next man in for USC. Came back with the curve for a strike. Shockey, 3 hits on the season, a 167 batting average.
We talked about the Trojans not running a whole lot. Armenta has attempted 2 stolen bases, caught both times, so you're probably going to see him stay put at first base, especially with the left-hander hitting up there behind him in Shockey.
Blaine gets the call in the outside corner that time, and it's 0-2. Knight missed his way inside to the left-handed hitter Shockey. A lot of lefties in this series for both teams.
Yeah, Arkansas definitely has a slew of left-handed batters, and so do the Trojans, so you're right. This is not the most friendly park for left-handed batters. Wind usually blows in straight in from right field.
As it is doing today. Yesterday is blowing straight out. Shockey just pokes one to left field, falling fast, base hit in front of Kerstad. So back-to-back singles for the Trojans here in the second inning.
Blaine hung that breaking ball.
Blaine.
Good job by Shockey just to take that ball where it was pitched, up and away. Now let's see if Trojans are going to try to bunt a couple runners up into scoring position. Wouldn't be surprised, but you're down in the 8-hole of the lineup.
But Caleb Murphy, who steps in, the catcher, is hitting .350. Then Bouchard, who we talked about earlier, who's in the 9 holes, batting .421. So some pretty good hitters, 8 and 9 in the USC lineup. Corners are in a couple of steps, guarding against the bunt. Looks like Murphy's ready to square. And he takes a strike. It was another good pitch to bunt. It was elevated about belt high over the plate.
think that was a slider. I always like to have catchers or pitchers throw something off speed, something that's breaking to try to bunt, because as a hitter, you know, you work off the machine and it's always thrown hard and fast and straight. You don't really have much practice bunting off-speed breaking pitches.
See what Murphy does here, 0-1. Looks like he's going to square again. Good bunt this time, handled by Martin. Has to wait for Shady to get there, and he just did reach back for the bag on the second try with that foot. Take it out, number 1. First time it pulled him from the bag, and he went back for a second opportunity.
Yeah, good execution. You see Martin take an extra shuffle step to let Shady get to the base. That's what you're taught to do. But that throw almost pulled him off. Almost been a disaster for Arkansas.
Here's the matchup we talked about right out of the gates with Blaine Knight against Chase Bouchard, who's hitting .421. Had a home run to win a game earlier this week against Loyola Marymount. Blaine stays away from that fastball, but he starts him with strike 1.
We talked about it in the open. Bouchard broke up a 2-2 ball game earlier this week with a solo home run that gave the Trojans the victory.
Bouchard wouldn't chase.
A lot of signs being flashed by the third base coach, and I'm like, you got guys on second, third with one out. I'm not really sure what you're wanting to do.
I was wondering the same thing.
Go up there and just hit it. Get it out of the infield.
It's Matt Curtis coaching over at third base. A dandy, maybe the best pitch of the day for Blaine. Here's the matchup.
Blaine Knight's been lights out, but you see the numbers for Bouchard. Just a huge slugging percentage and great average.
Blaine has 1 strikeout through 8 batters. You see his 11 Ks on the season. Now up to 12. He would like to add another, especially with the infield back at regular depth. And he gets it. Wave and a miss by Bouchard. Number 2.
That was a steady diet of sliders. That's the pitch that Blaine has really been working on. You see it right there. It's got late break, sharp down and away. Bouchard looks back and asks the home plate umpire, Marcus Patello, said, would that have been a strike? I don't think it was. I think it snapped outside the zone, but huge pitch for Blaine Knight in Arkansas.
So Knight has taken a step towards getting out of the inning. But now the lineup turned over for Newtbar. Flied out to right to start the game.
Swung at first pitch. Let's see if he does it again.
.35 pitches for Knight. Newtbar again second in the NCAA at walk, so he's not afraid to take 13 free passes this season.
That'll definitely help the on-base percentage, won't it?
Sure will. Even when you're hitting .231, nearly a .500 on-base percentage. And Blaine has helped him out by misfiring on the first 2.
So if I'm Newtbar right here, I'm going to sit on one pitch in one area. So if you want to sit fastball or you sit breaking ball, whatever you want to pick, just make sure it's in your spot and hammer it. But if not, take it. I don't like guys just completely taking this pitch.
Chance with just a base hit to tie up the game. And Blaine gets the strike.
Little late tail by Blaine Knight on that last fastball. 89, more more about movement than it was velocity. Sometimes you see some of those pitchers and their velocity really gets up there, and then their movement slows down a little bit.
Open stance for Newt Bar. Rips one to first, right at Gates. Inning over. That ball was blasted, and Knight happy that Gates was in his path, and the Trojans strand 2 men in scoring position. It's 2-0 Hawks.
Brent, let's look at my 2 cents for each team to win. For Arkansas, they've got to throw strikes because this Trojan team has had 6+ walks a game, and then they need to stay patient at the plate. They need to not swing at pitches outside the strike zone. That one's kind of borderline right there, but again, this team really got aggressive when they went to San Diego, and I think they're kind of dialing it back just a little bit.
Grant Cook hitting .238 with a home run. Hits it up the first base side. It hits the bag, and it's going to end up being a base hit for Cook. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Newt Bar hit an absolute rocket at the first baseman Gates last inning that ended the frame instead of driving in 2. And on a dribbler, Cook hits the pillow.
Well, I just kind of think about Dominic Fletcher and Grant Cook have struggled a little bit at the plate. You know, Fletcher hits the ball and doesn't have any luck right back at the middle pretty sharply. The pitcher spears it, and then Cook hits a little worm burner down the first base line and gets the nice friendly ricochet. Sometimes that's what you need to kickstart your offense.
Jared Gates, the hitter, homered yesterday. His second of the season. Talked about USC having a couple of big batting averages in their 8 and 9 spots in their lineup. But the Hogs with Gates, Shaddy, and Martin go 320, 286, and 421. And combined 30 RBIs out of their bottom 3 spots in the lineup.
That's one thing about this Arkansas lineup. They really don't have a drop-off. There's not a place where a pitcher or opposing team can kind of catch their breath. It's just one guy after another they roll out there that's dangerous. I mean, literally 1 through 9 can hit home runs in this Arkansas lineup.
Chris Clark on the 1-1 pitch. How about Cook running? The hit and run was on as Gates had to offer the pitch that was inside, and the Hogs put the wheels in motion with the catcher at first base.
You always hate that as a hitter. You want to get a hit and run pitch you can handle. That thing is right on his shins. Fouls it down the first base line, but Cook probably a little bit above average speed as a catcher. Not great speed, but he is definitely not a guy that pulls a piano out there either.
And the 1-2. Misses. Then again, as you talk about Cook, maybe slightly above average speed, he has exactly 1 career stolen base. So not somebody who would be running were it not for a hit and run.
Now he's going to go back to the dugout and say, hey, they saw my speed. Now they're going to keep me close over there.
Yeah, now he's drawing throws.
You got to work that as a player when that doesn't happen very often.
Very quiet stance out of Jared Gates. Up the middle, but a nice bounce for Bouchard, and that's going to be an easy double play.
Well, that one hit right off the mound, and it just came about knee-high to Bouchard. Didn't even have another hop. He couldn't have rolled it out there any easier. Gates is not even in the picture by the time the ball gets to first base. That is called picture perfect.
That erases the single by Cook on that ball that hit first base and propelled in the air. So 2 gone for Carson Shaddy. Couple of homers, 286 average for Shaddy.
You're right. When you're throwing breaking balls down and away on the first pitch, you face the 8-hole hitter. You can have a little respect, but they can see the numbers. Shaddy already had 2 home runs this season.
Shaddy had a triple yesterday, but the right fielder was way over in right center field, and Carson hit one down the right field line and just kept right on running.
I think that would have been a routine fly ball to right field, but the right fielder was playing right center. I mean, I bet he ran 200 feet to go get that baseball, and after the play, he's like looking in the dugout with his hands out going, you can't blame me for that. Not even the same zip code as where that ball landed.
Clark then drills Shaddy. Carson had no chance to get out of the way of that one.
This is one of those ones that was behind you. Yeah, took it right off that tricep, it looked like.
Casey Martin steps in. It was back on Wednesday when Casey Martin had a 2-homer game. He drove in 6 runs in the contest. Was back in the lineup yesterday, but in the leadoff spot, and added another RBI. And he gets another base hit in the left field. Casey is 9 for 20 in his playing time this season.
Yeah, he's going to be a hard guy to keep out of the lineup. He's solid defensively at third base. And if he can keep swinging the bat like that, he's got just blazing speed. So that's just another factor that you can throw in there. You can teach a lot of things. You can't teach guys to run like Casey Martin can run.
He assured me today at batting practice that his home run was fair, that we saw a couple of times, and the ball was hit so hard and got out of here so quickly down the left field line, it was hard to see if it hooked around the pole.
I just say he was right because he didn't run. He stood there and watched it to see if it was going to be fair or foul.
Biggers sprays one foul. Jack Singleton scored in the first. He scored on the 2-out, 2-run homer by Bonfield. And were it not for a double play this inning, the Hogs would really be rolling. 3 of their 4 hitters have reached.
Arkansas is having some really good swings against Chris Clark, the right-hander for the Trojans. Jax felt like he was a little bit rushed right there, so he calls timeout. Clark gets reset.
Shaddy at second, Martin at first. Shaddy had to hustle back in. No throw offered by Clark. Wind again really blowing in from right field for all these left-handed bats in both lineups today. Biggers more of a line drive hitter. See if he can find a gap. Clark misses downstairs. Here you see the flags moving. Yesterday, Troy, that was a much different look, different direction.
Yeah, strange day yesterday. Wind straight out of the north at about 18 miles an hour. Now, Kerstad hit one about, like they said, what do they estimate, 420? I think they're a little shy. I think they're cheating him a little bit on that.
I think so, too. That was an easy 420. Fastball drifted outside.
You saw Murphy try to get that call, but that missed so far out that his body just kind of kept riding outside the strike zone.
Good point. He took it with him. As he checks his wristband, gets ready to set the target. 2-out hit batter to Shaddy after the double play, and then a single by Martin. There's the Hogs on the bases. Boy, they're awfully concerned with Shaddy with 2 outs.
Let's see if that doesn't cost the Trojans. Bouchard really sneaking in behind Shaddy. As the pitch is getting ready to be delivered, he'll try to bounce back into position, but big hole between third and short.
Biggers lifts one to left. Duke Bar will have room. and the inning ends. Hawks get 2 hits. They strand 2 runners. Clark able to get out of the inning with a congratulations. It's still 2-0 Arkansas.
Well, Brett, let's see what the Trojans need to do to pull out a victory today. They need to keep flashing that leather defensively. They lead the nation in fielding, only 1 error. They came in this series fielding .997, and they need to avoid giving up the long ball. You already see one given up to Luke Bonfield. This is an Arkansas team that a season ago led the SEC with 83 home runs, and they're keep swinging for the fences. So they need to keep that ball down in the strike zone.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's a couple of things that Trojans have made a key point in this 3-game set. Keep the ball in the yard, and then their 1 error you speak of was just a drop at first base in a somewhat routine play, but the man who's done a lot of work with them is Gabe Alvarez. Trojans at the plate here in the 3rd. Heart of the lineup against Blaine Knight. Matthew Acosta singled his only time in. Blaine has been pitching backwards maybe a little more than we've seen him before.
Yeah, he really has, and you wonder if that's what trying to kind of get out of the MO of what he's been known for, is to be more of a power pitcher that is going to really attack those opposing hitters.
Soft contact. Gates far off the bag, and then Blaine Knight just missed it. Knight was trying to catch and find the bag at the same time and doesn't put up any argument with Matt Wagers at first.
Blaine's kind of motioning to the dugout. He thought he got a piece of that base. I thought he got it.
He got the front corner, but
yeah.
Didn't argue with our umpires, so Acosta
for USC, number 10,
will reach for the 2nd time. Let's take one more look. See if he was able to drag it across the bag. Hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't really tell from that angle.
Tried to kick his toe. You could see where maybe he thought he missed it initially because he tried to kick his toe for the back corner.
Yeah, usually when you see a pitcher kind of have that reaction.
There goes Acosta. Good pitch to handle. Good throw from Cook. In time, Acosta gunned down with a throw to Biggers. Doesn't matter now.
Well, Grant Cook a season ago threw out over 50% of the runners. He's got a strong arm, but it's all about the release and the location. You see that ball right on the money. Biggers stays right through it. Catches that ball in front of home plate, in front of second base, and just snaps it right to the base runner. But again, Cook, it's all about his accuracy. You rarely see him throw anything to the left or right of second base. It's always right there on the money.
Here's Tyler Pritchard. Remember, Perez was hit by a pitch in the 1st inning. Ben Ramirez, the starting shortstop, was hit by a pitch and it broke his hand earlier this season. As somebody, Gabe Alvarez, told me in 3 years he'll be a first-round pick. They think that highly of Ramirez. Perez was an All-Pac-12 performer a year ago. He was hit by a pitch and is out of the game. Those are 2 big bats.
Yeah, that's really tough for the Trojans to have a couple guys like that. You know, to lose anybody, but then have guys with that kind of offensive production.
So Pritchard, yet another left-handed bat. Whoever polishes those helmets up for the Trojans does good work, Troy. They just glisten.
We need to have them go do our shoes. Just get here a little bit early tomorrow.
This was the minor leagues. You'd have to tip a little bit extra for your clubhouse dues. For that look. Pritchard has just 2 at-bats all season. And Shaddy will retire him for the 2nd out. So there was an error to start the inning. It was on Blaine Knight. Then a caught stealing and a ground out. Blaine goes to his mouth a lot for the feel. It's not a cold day. It's probably the best day we've had weather-wise, but you can tell he's a guy that likes that the feel of that baseball.
Yeah, a lot of times guys will think that the ball's a little slick, so maybe maybe it's not rubbed up the way they like it to be, and just to get a little bit better grip.
Dylan Paulson popped to short, out there and shot on left. His only time in, takes a strike from Blaine, who wouldn't mind really kind of getting back on track from a pitch count standpoint, approaching 50, trying to get out through 3 innings of scoreless baseball. And it's quickly 0-2.
95 that last fastball. Saw a couple from him last inning and one earlier this inning with an 89-mile-an-hour fastball. So maybe it looks like that he's getting the feel for that pitch and just kind of letting it go a little bit more instead of trying to guide it so much.
2 strikeouts for Blaine Knight so far in the game. He said he fought Coach Johnson for 10 minutes in the dugout during his last start. The entire half inning trying to lobby to come back out there for one more after he went 6 innings against Cal Poly. He lost the argument, but at the end I think he agreed that it's only his 2nd start of the year. This is 3rd. There's a curveball that hung a bit, and Paulson hooked it into right for a base hit. Trojans have come out swinging today.
They really have, and that's a good job of 2-strike hitting by Paulson. Not a very good 2-strike pitch by Blaine Knight. That's one of those get me over, that's a strikeout in high school breaking ball, but you can't do that against a good Pac-12 club in the Trojans.
A little bit of agitation for Blaine Knight, who was looking for his first 1-2-3 inning with that caught stealing helping out. Here's Sable. Yet another lefty. Sable first pitch hacking. Kerstad had to glide at the end, but he made the catch. And the inning ends. There was a hit, there was an error, there was a caught stealing, and a man left on. Through 2.5. Hawks up 2-zip. USC Trojans have had some traffic on the bases, but they trailed 2-0. That's a good place to be today out there on the berm. And let's meet the USC Trojans. Enrollment of 40,000. Dado Field, one of the historic venues in college baseball. But Troy, they've won 12 national championships in the program's history. And how about the fact that they really celebrate the eights? Won a national championship in 1998. 1978, 1968, 1958, 1948. I don't want to put any pressure on Coach Hubbs, but...
yeah, there you go. He's like, Coach, hey, look at this pattern. Can't break the cycle.
Another year that ends in 8s, but the Trojans, one of the historic programs that Coach Hubbs has been in this rebuilding mode. They were in the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago, but they're not used to going multiple years in a row without not being in the tournament, let alone contending maybe to host a regional or beyond. As Eric Cole swings and misses to start the bottom of the 3rd inning.
Arkansas is going to pay the trip back. The Trojans in Arkansas and Fayetteville in 2018. Arkansas is going to make the trip out to Los Angeles in the 2019 season. Dave Van Horn's talked about it. He said, hey, we'll play anybody, but I don't want your money. A lot of teams will sit there and go, hey, we'll pay for you to come play us on the West Coast, but we don't want to come to Fayetteville. He's like, no, I want people to come here. You give me a home-and-home series, he's all about it.
I think it's good to go out west just to sample a different style of baseball. And, of course, the Hogs did that last week with 4 games in San Diego. You never know when you might line up in a super regional against a Pac-12 team.
You're exactly right. I think it's also good for recruiting. Arkansas last several years has got some really good players out of the state of California. Allows them to go home, but also allows those kids to see Arkansas baseball when they come out to the West Coast.
Softball did the same thing with Courtney Deifel, a former Cal catcher, and her ties to the West Coast. They were out there for recruiting purposes early in their season, off to a fantastic start. So is Eric Cole. He had to get out of the way of that one. Cole's got on all the protection he can. Elbow guard, shin guard.
was looking to check to see if he's wearing a mouthpiece or something. he's like, it's going to be a war out there.
Healthy cut.
Cole's a guy that really worked hard in the offseason, hit the weights, and put on about 15 pounds of muscle. First time I saw him, I didn't even recognize him. I thought he was Grant Cook. And I was like, no, that's Eric Cole. It's like, wow. Just completely changed his body.
Flew out to left in the first, and he'll fly out to left here in the third inning. Remember, Brandon Perez came out of the game. He was hit by a pitch earlier. Pritchard batted in the third inning. He's been at second base. So the Trojans had their share of middle infielders leaving games.
Dropping like flies out there, aren't they?
Yeah, let's hope that Perez is okay. Here's Heston Kjerstad, rolled out to first on a 3-1 play. In his only at bat, you see his gaudy numbers on the season. Big swing and a roller, foul wide at first, into the shadows, and that ball just disappears into the corner. Hawks got 2 runs in the bottom of the first on the Luke Bonfield home run off Chris Clark. That's it for the scoring. Fastball's down, and it's 1-1.
Well, that was the focus for Chris Clark by head coach Dan Hubbs to say, work down in the zone. He's kept the ball down pretty well. Got that one pitch up to Bonfield.
Another ground ball right at Pritchard. And there's 2 outs. Clark would like to cruise through the heart of this Arkansas lineup in the bottom of the third inning. Luke Bonfield back in the first. Had Biggers at third. And he sent one to the berm. Clearing that railing, giving a fan a souvenir. 16th home run for the Hogs this year.
Bonfield's been really consistent on his plate coverage this year. Been able to learn how the last couple years of his career to hit the ball to the opposite field. But still, was like any true power hitter, that he likes to pull it. So a lot of his home runs are to left center.
One thing Coach Dan Hubbs told us about Arkansas, not only their power, I think everybody knows that they're a power hitting team, but really the importance of his starters throwing strikes, because he said there's no fastball that this team can't handle if they know it's coming. And while that's true for a lot of teams, this team even more dangerous if you fall behind, say 2-1 and 3-1, have to come over the plate, where a couple of swings can change the complexion of a game.
Yeah, really, really can. And you're right, this Arkansas team, they really like to sit on that fastball when they can.
There's a fastball, and it's drilled towards left, but it had a little top spin, and Newtbar will catch another one. He was busy in left field. The Hawks go in order in the third inning. Good inning for Chris Clark. Still 2-0 Arkansas as we head to the fourth. Arkansas's opponents going to line things up. 1 run in the first. They've scored 2 in the second, 3 in the third. But the Hawks have went for those crooked numbers.
Yeah, they've just exploded offensively early on in ball games, and that just tells you how dangerous they are. And it sure makes it a lot easier for the pitching staff to work when you know you've got a lead, and that's what Arkansas has given Blaine Knight today. Not a big lead, but something to work with.
51 pitches through 3 scoreless for Blaine. He will face Angela Armenta here in the fourth inning. Armenta has one of the 4 hits for the Trojans. Armenta missed last season with an injury. So he's a junior, and this is really a young team. Even their sophomores played a lot as freshmen. juniors played a lot as freshmen and sophomores. So it's possible to have some experience but still be considered young.
There's a lot to be said about experience, and that's what Arkansas has, kind of a nice balance of seniors on the ball club as well as some good talented freshmen. You think about even defensively, Arkansas on the right side, Gates a senior, Shaddy a redshirt senior, Cook a junior, Biggers a junior, freshman Casey Martin at third base.
3 balls and a strike to Armenta.
Knight just doesn't look as sharp as he normally does. I don't know if this is the first big name team he's pitched against so far this season. We tried to do a little too much.
Doesn't want to put a runner on, but he does. Hit a batter earlier. That's the first walk that Knight has issued.
Now batting for USC, number 23, Brady Shockey.
And another left-handed batter for the Trojans, and you probably think they're going to stay put at first base. They saw how effective Grant Cook was behind the plate throwing the baseball. Sure hate to run yourself out of an inning. Got no outs, runner on first.
Shockey in that 7th spot in the lineup. Net a single his only time in. You do get the feeling USC's not going to want to sit around or wait to make things happen either. So I don't want to fall any further behind, which completely eliminates their running game. Hard to give up outs bunting when you're trailing. But now as Blaine has started to miss again, it's going to prompt a mound visit from Wes Johnson.
You can just tell Blaine is laboring a little bit. He's not a guy that it should be at 56 pitches with no outs in the 4th inning. That's not typical Blaine Knight.
I would say this is the one aspect of the game plan for the Trojans that has worked. They wanted to see Knight get that pitch count elevated early. And even though they've not scored, they have him in a position where if he has to work quite a bit to get through this 4th inning, you could start to see a scenario where he doesn't have a chance to go longer than, say, 6.
Wes Johnson, the pitching coach at Arkansas in his 2nd season. Before that was spent 1 year at Mississippi State and then several at Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist was always a great school as far as producing top pitchers.
See the ratio, not quite what Blaine would like from strikes to balls. A walk to Armenta, and it's a 1-0 count to Shockey. Armenta started to go, then stopped, but the pitch missed. It's getting to that point as well, Troy, where the shadows are starting to advance across the plate, so you would think this would be in favor of the pitchers for the next, say, 45 minutes?
Exactly, yeah. You see the batter, Armenta is almost, Shockey's almost in that shadow. See, Blaine with a lot of off speed today. We've seen him touch 95 on the fastball, so you know the velocity's there.
Two balls and a strike to Shockey. Good pitch for a strike to even the count.
Pitch number 60 right there, and you see Jake Reinl and Matt Cronin and Evan Lee down in the bullpen, kind of stirring just a little bit. Might just start stretching at this point, but a little activity.
Knight could use it out. One dropped out of the zone to send the count full.
So with full count now, let's see if the Trojans don't start a runner right here. They've definitely had the base runners. You've kind of pegged that Brett, 5 that have been stranded so far in just 3 innings.
There's also a caught stealing mixed in. There goes the runner. And Shockey able to make contact to send Knight to another payoff pitch.
Arkansas would love to see the strike him out, throw him out.
Blaine has been very deliberate with runners on base. And that pitch clock not in effect. Runner not going this time. Kerstad. That ball's up there a long time, but Heston makes the play for out number 1. So Knight wins the battle, but he's really invested a lot in some of these head-to-head matchups with the Trojans.
See Kerstad sporting the shades out there. Really fighting that sun. That ball carried pretty well. Off the bat, it just looked like a routine fly. Evan Lee is actually starting to do some light throwing. Reindl and Jackson Rutledge just look like they're stretching at this point, but getting definitely some life down there in the Arkansas bullpen.
You would think left-handers would fare well against this lineup. I think in an ideal scenario, Cronin would get some of the innings at the back end. Jake Reindl, a guy who's not pitched a lot this season. As Caleb Murphy in. He had a bunt for a sacrifice back in the second, but the Trojans stranded 2 men in scoring position. Murphy's a fast runner as well, a 6'7", 60 guy. Not your normal catcher. Chase that ball in the dirt.
It's something that you know that this Arkansas infield knows. You always want to remember who's at the plate. How much time do you have on a ground ball double play? You got to get rid of it in a hurry with Murphy running down the first base line.
Knight takes a peek at Armenta. 0 for 2 in stolen bases attempts this year, not running. And Blaine misses again, down and out of the zone.
Blaine is throwing a steady diet of breaking balls, mainly sliders, to this Trojan lineup.
Leadoff walk to Armenta, then Shockey fly to left. That time a breaking ball for a strike to Murphy.
Really good job by Grant Cook not to go out and get that baseball. Sometimes it's where the catcher catches it. Look how he lets it come all the way in there. It makes it look like it had a little more depth and a little lower in the strike zone.
A little arm side run on that pitch too.
It's kind of backed up on him a little bit, didn't it?
Seen that probably more than I would have expected this year from some of these right-handers. The 2-2, and again Murphy just spoils it, barely makes contact but stays alive and jumps up that pitch count a little bit closer to 70 here in the 4th inning.
It's a really good job by Murphy right there to even just get a piece of that ball, kind of cued it off the end of his bat, but it's a good slider down and away from Blaine.
That looks like he's shaking off Grant Cook. Cook sets up outside, the 2-2. Little flare, shallow center. It's going to drop for a base hit. And Armenta too far around second base, and Fletcher throws behind him. Shaddy to Martin. He's going to tag him out and make sure Murphy doesn't advance to second.
Boy, just a huge base running mistake by the Trojans. Armenta rounds first, just a excuse me base hit to the outfield. Fletcher comes up and wisely throws behind the runner. Armenta kind of got out there in no man's land. Murphy knows he's got great speed. He's going to run anyone down, so he does what he's supposed to do, runs the base runner back to the base you came from. You never want to run the runner toward the next base.
You know, I had that play in front of him and saw it drop in center field, but that's one of those either you're committed or you're not. Either you're going to go towards third and take your chance, and you can't afford, even had he stayed on his feet and not slipped, he was in danger of being picked off at second.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you also have to know who's in the outfield. Dominic Fletcher came out of high school baseball 2 seasons ago with the second best arm in all of high school baseball. So he's got an absolute cannon out there. So you're not going to outrun him going to third base.
That's the easiest outfield assist he'll have all year, though. And Chase Bouchard, the batter. You'll get one despite the rundown. Bouchard came up with runners at second and third and 1 out in the second inning. Blaine Knight reached back, got the strikeout, one of just 2 he's had today, but it came at a very opportune time. That one finds a lot of the plate for strike 2.
That's ability of Blaine Knight to be throwing that. That's just a fastball outside corner at the knees. Not much you can do with it, but again, it's about location. If you throw that pitch consistently, you're going to have a long career in baseball.
Two outs and 2 strikes. No swing on the appeal. Bouchard was able to hold back.
A little something extra on that slider. We've seen it consistently about 84 miles an hour, 86 on that last one. He was trying to get Bouchard to chase that one.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Wave and a miss. Knight worked around a walk and a single this inning. A base running mistake by the Trojans helped.
Big strikeout by Blaine Knight. Hogs coming up to bat.
There's Dan Hubbs, the USC head coach. 81 career appearances for the Trojans. 22 career saves. Pretty good strikeout pitcher as well.
Yeah, he really was, and he kind of takes this pitching staff under his own wing, and you'll see him make the mound visits and also probably pitching changes as well.
Going to figure out a way to retire Fletcher, Cook, and Gates with his starter Chris Clark here in the Hogs' 4th inning. 2-0 Arkansas. Fletcher up there hacking at the first pitch. Hit a comebacker to Clark his only time in. Dominic 37 at bats into his season. You know he'd like to get it going despite those 10 RBIs.
I think that last pitch kind of summed up his season so far. That was a fastball right down the middle. He just missed it. When he's on, that ball is hammered.
Same pitch, same result, a little bit outside. Hawks got both of their runs on one swing from Bonfield, a first inning homer to the hill in left center.
Even on that take right there, he's not very well balanced. You see the difference of his takes and like a guy like Kerstad.
Clark missing further outside, 3-1.
Let's see if Dominic can shorten that stroke up right here.
Popped up. Not an easy play, though, for Bouchard. Gliding backwards. He'll make the catch, and there's one out.
Now batting for the Razorbacks, number 33, Grant Cook.
Clark has retired 5 straight. Here's Grant Cook at an infield single in the second when a dribbler up the first base line hit the base ricocheted sideways in the air.
That base hits pushed Grant Cook's average up to 273. He's a guy you know is going to hit. It's going to be when. Kind of both guys, Fletcher and Cook, too good to keep down for very long. They're just kind of, baseball's a funny game. Sometimes you have to just let it come to you.
2-0. Clark entered the game with an ERA just below 5 with a win and a loss. One pitch he'd like to have back. Starting to settle in, though. As I say that, there's the ball rocketed into left center for a base hit, so Cook 2 for 2.
I've got to turn that average around, won't it?
It's on the rise.
Well, Cook likes the ball out away from the plate. He's a guy that stands a long ways away from home plate. That ball is right down the middle. He does not miss it. You know he hit the ball hard when the shortstop only gets about a half a step and the ball's past you.
It's already by him.
Last time Cook was on first base, they tried to hit and run. One out here. There's no outs at that time. I think he'll probably stay put with Gates at the plate.
Gates smashed one right to short, but it went as a double play. His only time in. That one was botched by Murphy. And a free base for Cook. You wonder if that sunshine shadows contrast right there caused Murphy a little bit of problems, because that was a ball he needs to handle.
You wonder if he gets crossed up. No, you're right. Just kind of handcuffed him a little bit. That could be a big play with one out, and base hit scores a run now with the runner on second base.
Arkansas looking to add to a 2-0 lead here in the home half of this fourth inning. That time a good block by Murphy to save a base.
It's going to bring a visit from the Trojan dugout.
Clark over 60 on his pitch count. He had retired 5 straight before the single by Cook. See Dan Hubbs, though, he's talking pitching right away. He was showing that glove hand, motioning to Clark.
There's nobody in the Trojan bullpen. There's not even a soul down there. That's all that Marcus Patillo is going to allow from a conversation standpoint. He's going to go out there and break out that party.
So the count's 2-0 to Gates. Shaddy on deck.
If you're Jared Gates, you've got to get something you can really handle here. You're going to be able to drive something in a gap.
Chopper to the right side. Pritchard there. 2 outs now as Gates is retired. Cook moves up to third base.
Now batting for the Razorbacks, number 20, Carson Shaddy.
Clark an out away from ending this inning. Shaddy hits a chopper to third. Leaping attempt by Armenta, and that'll save a run. Good play. We'll visit with Arkansas head coach Dave Van Horn when we come back. 2-0 Arkansas. Arkansas leading 2-0 over USC as we go to the 5th inning. Chance to catch up with Arkansas head coach Dave Van Horn. Dave, Blaine Knight has been able to put up 4 zeros, but he's been fighting himself a bit today. What are you seeing out of him?
Well, he's not locating his fastball. He's been behind in the count a lot and had to battle. And, you know, they've got some really tough hitters that, you know, they're hard to strike out. They'll take a walk, and they've gotten his pitch count up.
Coach, big hit by Luke Bonfield. The senior's really kind of settling into that DH spot, isn't he?
Yeah, he's done a good job. You know, it's not easy to sit around on the bench and go hit. Guys are used to playing in the field, and all of a sudden you're DH. It's a little difficult. You have to find a way to stay in the game and really concentrate.
Coach, thanks for your time.
All right.
Dave Van Horn joining us as we go to the 5th inning. Blaine Knight ready to go back to work. He'll look at the top of the lineup for USC. Lars Nootbaar will bat. 0 for 2, and one of the things Coach Hubbs told us about his left fielder is he's one of those guys maybe pressing a little bit. You get towards that draft year and you want to get off to a good start. You know there's a lot of scouts here today as well to see Blaine Knight. Nootbaar is 0 for 2. He came in batting .240. He hit .313 though a year ago.
You're exactly right. That definitely gets in a lot of players' heads that junior year. You know it's the big draft year, so there's nothing good that happens when you press. You just have to let that God-given ability just take over, and it's tough to do, to settle down.
.2-0 pitch, misses 3-0, and I guess you look at his walk total and you say he's at 13, maybe about to be 14. It's not as if he's chasing pitches when you're walking that much.
Maybe trying, like, I think almost like a Dominic Fletcher right now. He's just a sophomore, but you can really tell when he gets the pitch he wants, he's overly aggressive and not just making a good, safe swing.
How about Blaine going breaking ball? 2-1, dropping one in. Coach Van Horn saying he hasn't commanded his fastball well against a team that's pretty patient. But he's approaching 80 on the pitch count. We're in the 5th, still looking for the first out of the inning. One thing USC's been able to do is spoil a lot of two-strike pitches.
Well, they definitely have not been late to the fastball, and you've seen it anywhere from 89 to 95 today by Blaine, but most times sitting around 90, 91. But even when they see one, even if it's up in the zone, they'll foul it off and make him work that much harder.
One of the goals was not to strike out, put the ball in play, make Arkansas handle it. Been just 3 strikeouts for Knight so far, so they put the ball in play, but they've lost a runner with a caught stealing. They lost a runner between second and third who slipped on the bases, and that has not helped their cause. But the count has gone full to the leadoff hitter Nootbaar here in the 5th. Payoff pitch, another soft foul ball.
Slow breaking ball by Knight. You know, you think about scouts you talked about. You know there's a lot of scouts in here watching Blaine Knight every time he toes the rubber. And sometimes scouts want to see things like what's happening today. When you don't have your good stuff, you're not commanding your fastball, how are you going to respond out there on the mound? And Blaine Knight has really been battling. Again, you know, he seems like he's laboring. We're so used to Blaine Knight just carving the other team up, but it really shows what he's made out of.
Hard ground ball to Shaddy. He turned his head just a bit as he fielded that ball cleanly, and then gets out of first base.
Like one of those ones, look, Mom, look what I found. That was a rope right at him.
Ball got on him quickly.
Now batting, number 6, Matthew.
Watch at the very end when he comes up with it. That head turns just maybe anticipating one off his chest.
As an ex-catcher in high school, you think Carson keep that head down?
You get a mask, though, behind the plate.
That's true, mask and a throat guard.
Acosta has singled and reached on an error by Blaine Knight when he missed first base trying to cover on a throw from Gates. Blaine starts him with a slider again for a strike this time. off the shin guard of Grant Cook. I would think right now, if you're Knight, your goal would be probably to get through 6 innings.
Yeah, I think so. They could get him through 6 innings, maybe get out of there less than 100 pitches. That's going to be tough to do at this point. At 83 right now.
Hit well to right. Right of Cole. 2 outs.
Trying to conserve pitches. You don't mind that line out to the outfield.
Now batting, number 10, Tyler Pritchard.
You can kind of see when pitchers are in there kind of digging at the dirt, at the mound. You know, he doesn't look like he's comfortable. He's been kicking by the rubber a little bit. Then he's been kicking down and where he's going to land, his stride foot.
Here's Pritchard. Knight will pitch with 15 seconds on that 20-second pitch clock. There have been a lot of times today where it's been down to 3 or 2, and it's almost like that internal clock. He knows when he has to go, but he'll use up a lot of the clock. A little quicker tempo here with the bases empty and 2 outs. He'll let one go with the 11.
The ephus curve right there. I think that had some hang time.
Blaine has not had a 1-2-3 inning in this game. A chance presents itself here in the 5th inning. Good pitch for a strike.
Really working that off speed. Not really sure if that was a breaking ball. I think it was a curve. That last pitch.
Strike 3 call over the inside corner. First perfect inning for Blaine.
Great location on the last fastball by Blaine Knight. Just painted the inside corner. Hogs coming up to bat.
2-0 Arkansas. This game heads into the bottom of the 5th inning. Martin, Biggers, and Cole, the batters. What a day, 61 degrees, a lot of sunshine, very little wind, and a huge crowd on hand, and probably more expected for the Saturday game tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central.
Well, the Trojans can bring the weather. We'll just let them come anytime they want. It's going to be like this. This is a perfect day in early March.
Casey Martin singled his first time in. Hits this one well to right field. Shockey's on the move. He's at the track, reaching and making a running grab. A little bit shy of the fence. And a lot of relievers heading out to that bullpen now. They're almost in play. Shockey was determined to get that out.
That ball just continued to slice away from Shockey in right field. He just stayed on it.
Just 65 pitches for Chris Clark as this lineup gets turned over for the 3rd time for Biggers, who is singled and fly to left. Two-run home run from Luke Bonfield in the first. All the scoring in this game. Opener of this weekend series. 2-0.
Both teams are even in 5 hits apiece. Like you said, the big blow is the bomb by Bonfield. Arkansas really hasn't put very many runners on. Trojans have had them all over the place. They just haven't been able to push one across.
Bonfield with the bomb at bomb. That's a tongue twister.
Say that fast 3 times. Don't even want to think about it. See that shadow almost engulfing the pitcher.
Now 3-1 to Biggers.
I can tell you the hitters wanted to get across there as fast as possible. Anytime that ball goes from sunlight to darkness, it disappears for its split second. You don't really have many split seconds to decide if you want to swing at it or not, but Biggers is going to not swing and get a walk.
And that is the first free pass that Clark has issued in this game. Now he hit Shaddy back in the second. But he has been able to work ahead of a lot of these hitters. Twice Eric Cole has been retired by Newtbar in left, once on a line out, once on a fly out. See if Arkansas can take advantage of that walk to Biggers. Produce at least another run this inning. Boy, that looked to be off the corner, but called a strike.
Shockey, right before that pitch, was about 5 feet from the track. He took a couple steps in. Cole's got some pretty good power, but giving him a lot of respect. Center field playing very deep as well, too. Looks like anything line drive is going to land in front of these Trojan outfielders.
Yeah, Shockey was extremely deep for a couple of seconds. After getting that generous strike on the first pitch, Clark went out there again. This time he didn't get it. See Coach Hubbs on the left side of your screen with a quick signal of a pitch into Murphy.
It's one thing that's going to be really nice for the SEC. The SEC is working with a new experimental headset in the catcher's helmet to be able to radio in the pitches instead of have to flash them in. They think that it's going to save anywhere from 5 to 8 seconds a pitch. You multiply it out through a game, it's about 15 minutes. What they think they might be able to save in time off a game, and any way to speed the game up is I'm all for.
Biggers is running. Pitch is up and in. The throw nearly hit the pitcher. Clark had to bend out of the way. And Murphy's misfired badly on a couple, and Biggers is swiped to today. Watch Chris Clark try and get out of the way of this throw.
Now he's 6'7", but I mean that was bound to hit him right in the back. He's gonna sit there and have a conversation with his catcher Murphy after that one, saying, "Hey, bud, could be better than that."
Two balls and a strike to Cole. That's down and out. So all of a sudden now controls become a little bit of an issue, and it'll prompt a mound visit from Murphy. It's amazing once the big leaguers started having conversations with their gloves in front of their mouth because of all the TV cameras and lip readers. It's just trickled down to all levels now.
Little League's even got it. Because it's serious baseball at the 6-year-old level.
I have very few talents, and you probably figured that out by now. But one of the few I have is lip reading, so it's always disappointing when they hide their mouth with their glove. Cook lifts one out of play, third base side.
Cole just a little bit late on that fastball. Usually you think about a guy getting to the count of 3-1, and it's had a little bit of pop like Cole does. I think he'd be geared up a little bit more to that fastball, but that was just sneaky. I think Chris Clark is a little sneaky fast. Some guys are like that. It's not as much about their velocity, just a release, or maybe a tough guy to pick up the baseball off of.
Biggers in scoring position. Bouchard, though, trying to keep him close to second base. Here's a 3-2 to Cole. Another foul ball right back to the netting. Kerstad and Bonfield to follow here in the bottom of the 5th inning. First of 3 against the Trojans. This Pac-12 SEC matchup in front of a great crowd on a beautiful Friday here in Northwest Arkansas.
This is a big batter right here. I think if Clark can get him, he can kind of settle down and keep his team within just 2 runs.
And another walk. Pretty tough pitch to take right there, but Cole able to lay off and advances to first.
Yeah, you're right. That ball is just barely off the corner on the inside. And Cole just a good eye. And it's not a bad idea to take when you got a guy like Heston Kerstad hitting behind you.
Now Clark has retired Kerstad 2 occasions as there's activity going in the bullpen. They're both a righty and a lefty throwing. Heston hasn't had many stretches where he's gone 0 for 3 or 0 for 4, but Clark has had his number to this point. Chance to change that here. Clark continues to fall behind hitters here in the fifth.
Tell you one thing the Trojans do is they really try to keep that runner close at second base. Bouchard, he'll stand right behind any runner who's out at second base, and that definitely creates a huge hole between the shortstop and third base.
Big swing and a big foul ball by Kirsten. Four RBIs yesterday, 11 on the season for the freshman out of Amarillo. They've been concerned with Biggers one way or another. That was the one time that Bouchard wasn't there to hold him, and you see Clark spin and look back to second.
We talked about how deliberate Blaine Knight has been in this ball game. Chris Clark has really slowed his pace down as well, too.
Just a suggestion, with Kirstead in the box, most of my attention would be on him. Chopper to the right side, base hit. Biggers around third, a chance to score. Here's the throw from Shockey. It's in the air, but late. Kirstead does it again, and it's 3-0 Arkansas.
Kirstad's got a way just to find that hole between first and second base. Kind of topped that one just a little bit, but he got enough of it to come a seeing eye single out there to right field. That gives Biggers a little extra time because it wasn't just absolutely smoked. Not a bad throw by the outfielder Shockey, just no chance to get Biggers.
Cole able to go all the way to third base. RBI number 12 for Heston. Cole 90 feet away. Here's Bonfield, who's flied to left and hit a 2-run homer. He would obviously like to knock in Cole from third to base with a fly ball at worst. Clark misses in the dirt, falls behind another hitter. After being so economical through 4 innings, giving up just the one big swing to Bonfield back in the first. 2 walks and a single here in the fifth.
Well, both pitchers in the bullpen are ready because neither one of them are throwing right now. They're just holding the baseball and watching what's happening on the field.
There's a strike over the inner half.
Ideal hitting situation for Bonfield. Always loved hitting with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. He's got to get that fly ball to the outfield. You got good speed and call it third.
Hit back towards your truck, Troy, and out of play.
Maybe I can collect some insurance money if it puts a big dent in it. Bonfield straighten that thing out. I don't need any dents. I'd like to put a dent in this baseball right here. I'm sure he's going to get something soft. Breaking ball down and away. You have to be heads up if you're Kirstad. You try to advance on a ball in the dirt.
Able to spoil that pitch.
Got his eyes down there at the pitch level. That's old school of watch it hit your bat. I think he was making sure.
You talked about him taking a ball out of a catcher's glove the other day, and he had the catcher's interference yesterday, so he's not afraid to cut late. Not a double play bouncer, and after the bobble, Armenta has one play at first. Bonfield retired. Cole will score. It's a 4-0 game, and 3 of those have been knocked in by Luke.
I like the aggressive play by Arkansas. A lot of times you just make a defense, make a play against you.
I don't have a problem with that, Troy, because if you're going to come home with the play at the plate, you're not going to get the double play. It turned out not to be a double play bouncer, but off the bat, that would have been my concern as a runner.
Yeah, I think so. Bonfield doesn't run very well. He'd be a guy that you could double up on a chopper like that.
So 2 walks this inning, both cashed in for runs. And here's Fletcher, 0 for 2 in the game. Clark misses about a foot off the plate.
Even like that take right there, I'm really dissecting Dominic Fletcher right now, but that ball's not even close, and he is really lunging for it. It's like he's not getting a good read out of the pitcher's hand.
2-0. I think part of that might be just tracking the pitcher, just not being comfortable.
I think he's just a little antsy. And when you're antsy, I'm telling you, and you're pressing, the ball looks like a BB coming up there. You don't pick up spin very well. Get it out of the pitcher's hand late.
High fly, playable right center. Shockey continuing to drift in. He'll make the catch to end the inning. Hogs get 2 big runs on just 1 hit. We'll speak with USC head coach Dan Hubbs when we come back in the top of the 6th. Arkansas adds a couple of runs in the 5th inning. It's now 4-0 Razorback advantage. As we go to the 6th, Blaine Knight coming off his first 1-2-3 inning of the game.
Yeah, Blaine Knight definitely hasn't had his A+ stuff today, but shows a lot about what he's doing out there, just battling.
USC head coach Dan Hubbs joins us. Coach, you've had a lot of traffic against Blaine Knight. What do you need to do to scratch one across or more?
Well, we got to get the hit, right? I mean, I think he's done a nice job of mixing breaking ball and fastball, and we're getting him to counts we can do something. And it seems like every inning we've had guys on base, and you know, I think the guys are having good at bats, but we got to get up. We got to come up with a big hit, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, obviously they've gotten a couple. And now we need to add ours. Just keep getting on base, keep grinding them out, and then put ourselves in a position, and then hopefully we can put a good pass on it and see what happens.
Coach, you've already lost one infielder already this season, and then Perez gets hit by the pitch. How's he doing?
He's doing all right. He got hit right in the wrist bone, so we'll see what happens. I think we're going to try and get an X-ray tonight and see what's going on. Obviously, that's not great news. One place we thought we had a lot of depth was in the middle of the infield, and you know, when you lose 2 of your guys in a short period of time, that's not good. So we're hoping for the best on that one.
Yeah, that's tough. Coach, thanks for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Coach Dan Hubbs of USC. Anytime you hear X-rays, you get a little bit nervous. Dylan Paulson leads off here in the 6th inning. Knight now a count of a ball and a strike. Paulson singled back in the 3rd. He has one of 5 hits for the Trojans. There's some run right there on that pitch for a strike from Blaine.
Yeah, that's one thing that he has also worked on. You talked about the changeup during the fall and early in the spring, and he worked also on some movement on that fastball. A lot of times last year, sometimes his velocity was there at 94, 95, but didn't have that run.
He throw a 2-seamer at all?
That's something he did not do last year. That last pitch, the 92-mile-an-hour fastball before this one, that's what it looked like. It looks like that 2-seamer that had some good run on it.
A couple of miles an hour off where he was earlier, and it ran away from the lefty.
That was always the thing that Wes Johnson and Dave Van Horn talked about with Jake Reindl, a guy that also has a lot of movement on that fastball. A guy can throw it 93, 94, but they like him to be 90, 91 with the movement. So Blaine's kind of getting a little bit of that now too.
Left that pitch up, and Paulson deposits it into right field for a base hit. So each team with 6 hits, despite the fact Arkansas up 4-0. That's one Blaine would like to have back.
Well, the Trojans have definitely had, that's the third time they've had the leadoff man on. Have not been able to capitalize at this point. I think that gets back to what kind of competitor Blaine Knight is. Some guys just kind of do the old saying of bow your neck out there, and that's what he normally does.
Blake Sable, the DH, is 0 for 2. And strike one called. Sable was in 40 games last year, 26 starts. As you can imagine, most of these USC kids are California natives. See how the wind affects this pop-up. Gates in the coach's box on the warning track. Makes the catch.
One thing that happens when you get around the stadium, that wind kind of starts swirling. You saw Jared Gates really fighting that wind. That's a big out right there. When you've got a pitcher that's struggling, you see Gates in there. He's kind of all over the place on that pop-up. But when you got a pitcher struggling, any out's big. If you can help him save a few pitches, that's pitch number 95 right there for Blaine. They want to try to get him through this 6th inning. He drops that, and they could push up to the 110 range in a hurry.
Quickly. Armenta is singled and walked, so he's been on base both times. That was a strike, but that was right at the belt. Feels like Blaine has been out of that stretch position most of this start. He finds strike 2.
Really good breaking ball right there. That was tight. Down in the strike zone. Now he's in the driver's seat.
Paulson single to start the inning. Sable popped up in foul territory. See if they can get 2. Shaddy with a good turn. Biggers throw to first. Double play. Not an easy turn by Shaddy and Biggers, but they help out Blaine Knight.
Shaddy does a great job to go get that baseball. When it's hit softly, as an infielder, you got to attack it. You see him go get this baseball right here. Makes a great flip to Biggers, and watch his quick release by the shortstop. Well, the Hogs got things rolling in the first with one man on. Luke Bonfield does not miss an inside fastball, rips a 2-run homer over the left center field wall. And then ground ball by Grant Cook right there for the first out of the ball game. Excuse me, of this inning.
That's the first time Cook has been retired in the game.
He's a guy that came in struggling just a little bit, aggressive on that last at-bat, but starting to see the ball better. He's a guy that you talked about pressing a little bit. I think Grant Cook was pressing early on this season.
Clark back out there. He allowed 2 runs on just 1 single last inning, and they had activity, did the Trojans in their bullpen. Gates the batter. This will be the 90th pitch of Clark's start. It's a fastball for a strike at 90 MPH. Clark misses a little bit in. Two balls and a strike to Gates. Gates homered yesterday.
The big right-hander, Jackson Rutledge. You can call him a big right-hander. When you go 6'8", you get big thrown in front of your
automatic
name.
Come back. Clark has to locate it. Then he bounces one to first. Scoop by Paulson. Ball might have been wet. It was kicking out of everybody's glove.
Now batting for the Razorbacks.
Clark kind of went into panic mode a little bit. I think it kind of stung his hand as it hit. He took his glove off, kind of shook that hand. And he's like, hey, thanks for picking me up. I like when you throw a duck over there to first base and he scoops it.
Carson Shaddy will hit with the bases empty and 2 quick outs in this Arkansas 6th inning. Carson did so much damage in that first weekend here at home against Bucknell with a couple of home runs. That's when he was batting 9th. He's moved around the lineup a little bit since, hitting in the 8-hole today. Pitch was called a strike, much to the dismay of the Baum Stadium faithful.
Carson had a little discussion with Marcus Patillo, the home plate umpire.
Shaddy lifts one to right, into the wind, hit well, but Shockey's going to get back on the track and make the catch. So Clark has a perfect 6th inning, and it remains a 4-0 Arkansas lead over the Trojans out of the Pac-12.
Hey.
Blaine Knight's day is done. What'd you see out of him today, Troy?
He just wasn't as sharp as he normally is, but you just see that bulldog mentality, a guy that really went to the breaking ball often, and then he spotted that fastball when he needed to. But a guy that, he went 6 scoreless innings when he probably, in his mind, had his C-plus stuff.
He competed through his 6 innings. Now he's replaced by Jackson Rutledge, the 6'8" right-hander and freshman.
So Wes Johnson likes to have nicknames for all his pitchers. He's Big Nasty Jr. It's Jackson Rutledge. You see, he's a guy that has not given up an earned run so far this season. A big arm from the right side. He'll hit, we've seen him 96, 97, consistent. It's not like he just barely touches up there, but he'll run that fastball up there. Also has a pretty dandy curveball as well, so it almost gets unfair when he can throw the breaking ball over in about 80.
He's on to face 7, 8, and 9 in the 7th inning. Brady Shockey has a single today, steps in. Product of J. Sarah High School, an outstanding baseball program in SoCal. We showed you the numbers of Rutledge. He's appeared in 2 games, but Troy, now you wonder how Rutledge responds with 7,000 to 8,000 fans here today. He pitched in California. Tony Gwynn, there's a comebacker. It hit Rutledge, fielded by Biggers, and a chance for a 1-6-3 out. He may have slowed that down just enough and misdirected it towards Jacks to get out number 1.
Pretty
good
job.
Like it hit the palm of his hand.
Yeah, pretty good job of the 6'8" guy. Almost did it deflect off his glove.
Yeah, I got his glove.
Got to make sure you protect that bare hand. You're right. You always wonder what a freshman's going to do in front of a big crowd, and it's definitely not a rowdy crowd, but a good ball club in USC, and you want him to come in and throw strikes. So far, that's what he's done. You could easily see him come in and be the closer, maybe against right-handed batters, Matt Croden against left-handed batters.
Starts Caleb Murphy, the catcher, with strike 1.
95 is every one of his pitches so far on the radar gun on the scoreboard have been in that red, that dark red, anything 95 and above.
Is that a swing? Yes, sir, on the appeal. Mark Wagers at first.
There's that 80-mile-an-hour curveball, excuse me. You gear up for 96, 97, and then he snaps that off. It's just almost unfair.
Good miss pitch, 0-2. So Blaine Knight in line to be a winner for the 2nd time this year. It's a strange start against Cal Poly. Tapper in front of the plate. That's a fair ball fielded by Cook. 2 quick outs. Cat-like quickness from Cook to pounce out in front of the dish to make sure this ball didn't bounce a 2nd time.
Yeah, you're right. I like how Cook got that mask off in a hurry. He was able to see the ball really well. Didn't waste too much time, didn't overthink it, just got rid of it in a hurry.
Bouchard, the shortstop, bats ninth. There's the curve, and there's the strike. Paints with 94.
That's down in the zone. That's, again, hard for those big, tall guys to do. Rutledge getting on top of the baseball. That is a lot of downward angle. We always talk about Isaiah Campbell throwing downhill. Rutledge is. He showed him 2 breaking balls. Now you got to go gas high, about bill high.
See Bouchard's numbers, big season so far. Elevated, not high enough though. That's over the plate, Troy. You just can't put that ball there with 2 strikes. Either you got to go outside or get it up.
Yeah, that's a strikeout in high school, and that's not going to get it done at D1 level.
You're almost doing Bouchard a break by leaving it about belt high.
Just great piece of hitting right here by Bouchard. You see where that ball, you're exactly right. That's outside corner up in the zone. The thing about throwing the ball in the outside corner is the hitter's got a little bit longer. He can let that ball travel a little bit deeper and catch up to it.
You just hate to carve up somebody on 2 or 3 pitches and then let him get a 0-2 hit. Bouchard's going to advance on the ball in the dirt. He's in scoring position with 2 outs, and Newtbar has the count of 1-0. And this is where you love having the veteran Cook out there working with these freshmen. We saw nothing but freshman pitchers in the last 2 games against Dayton.
And Cook's out there going, hey, we got a 4-run lead. Let's get this guy at the plate. You got 2 outs. Probably made sure they're on the same page as far as signs go.
Low strike. The one thing Rutledge does from the stretch, though, I think it's even more difficult for hitters. He really closes it off, and you can't see it here. Once he gets the sign and comes set, he does a pretty good job of, you're going to have to trust me on this. He's going to come set here eventually. Hold on.
He's a statue right now.
Now we go. He closes that off. See that front foot in front of the other? You didn't even see the glove for the hitter. Biggers picked a tough hop and retires Newtbar to win the inning. Boy, that ball skipped and accelerated, but what a play.
That is why Jax Biggers is the best fielding infielder Dave Van Horn said he's ever coached. What a pick right there by the shortstop.
There's your line score. A lot of zeros up on top for the men of Troy. Hawks have a 4-0 lead. Trojans have gone to their bullpen for the first time in this game. Chris Clark has exited. Isaac Escada, the left-hander, coming on.
Escada has only thrown 2 innings so far, giving up 2 hits and 2 earned runs. Opponents are hitting .286 off the left-hander, but Arkansas's got a lot of lefties in their lineup. They're going to start off with a righty and Casey Martin right here.
Escada out of Pomona, California. Casey's 1 for 2. He has one of the 6 hits. Arkansas has been out hit in this game 7-6, but they lead 4-0. Back foot breaking ball on the first one from Escada to Martin. RBIs for your 9-hole hitter. Pretty big number. I mean, Shaddy in the first weekend was batting 9th, and he went crazy in that Bucknell series. So he got moved up a couple of slots. And now Martin has torn up the 9 spot.
Hey, if I'm struggling offensively, just ask DVH to move me to the 9-hole. Maybe that's a good luck charm. You don't want any walks if you're USC, but you sure don't want to walk this guy.
3-0. Get me over strike. Now we'll see how aggressive Martin wants to be on 3-1. You see where Murphy, the catcher, wants it. He wanted that pitch down around his shoes, and it was elevated. I mean, he missed the location by about 4 feet, but he still got the swing and the miss. See where Murphy sets the target a little bit higher here. And was once 3-0, and he comes back and he gets the strikeout.
That's a big job by Isaac Escada. Set the tone for this inning. That big, sharp breaking ball right under Martin's hands. You see him kind of stride, trying to make that adjustment, but that looks like his out pitch.
Back to the top of the lineup in Bigger. He's walked, he's singled, he's stolen 2 bases, and scored 2 runs. He made a nice play to end the top of the 7th and save a run. Average up over 300. Here's that breaking ball again. Going into Saturday night's game at San Diego State, Biggers was hitting .222, and it's early, of course, but raised that nearly 100 points since. Lofted that out of play, third base side.
Might have been the show me fastball right there, the Bigger spoiled. Now you're probably going to see that big sweeping breaking ball. Your Jacks, you got to think about trying to hit this ball to left field. Newbar's really cheating in to take away anything soft.
Fouled back to the netting. One out here in the bottom of the 7th. Biggers will chop that curve towards second. Pritchard makes the play. Couple of outs for Escada.
So far he's come in and pretty tough. He came in with this game with an ERA of 9. See if Eric Cole can figure out the left-hander.
Cole will turn around and bat right-handed, 0 for 2 with a walk. Hogs went down in order in the 6th. That was the last inning for Chris Clark. Overall, 7 straight have been retired by USC pitchers since Kersted's single, which made it 3-0 Arkansas. Boy, that pitch has so much sweeping movement, it's tough for Murphy to keep it in the zone.
It really does. That was a fastball, that last one. It even had some good run to it. Almost like he gets around like a cutter.
He does have a little crossfire on this delivery where he comes from. Good pitch. Strikeout and a ground out here in the 7th inning. Grounded into left, base hit, 7th hit for the Hogs, first for Cole in the game.
Not a bad pitch by Escada. Kept that ball down the strike zone. Cole just went down and got it, just found a hole. Arkansas trying to get something going. 2 outs was a big thing they did in the last couple of ball games against Dayton. Scored several runs with 2 outs. So this is one of those offenses you can't kind of okay, we got 2 outs, we gave up a base hit, we can just cruise to get the 3rd out. That'll make you pay.
Then you always worry about a ball being launched, although this is a lefty-lefty matchup against Heston. And as comfortable as he was yesterday in the box with a 3-run homer and a sac fly, DVH did joke. He didn't like the lefty, the side-arming lefty who carved him up on 3 pitches.
Yeah, he definitely did not. Let's see if that same angle gives the freshman a little bit of trouble.
The quick mound visit from Murphy before the pitch to Kirstead. Tomorrow a 2 o'clock start for the Saturday game. Huge crowd expected. Sunday, don't forget, it'll be an earlier start at 12:30 game here at Baum Stadium. Central Time, of course.
Trojans are flying commercials, so you might see a curfew put on that ball game. A lot of times you have a team traveling on Sunday, especially non-conference. They will fly commercially, and wouldn't surprise me if something around the 4 o'clock mark might be. A lot of times they'll say, hey, we're not going to start an inning after 4 o'clock. I think they've got a 6:20 flight out of Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport.
Big yawn there in the left side of your screen. USC dugout. The camera catches all. Kirstead will take, throw down, and Cole will swipe the base.
It is the second Trojan pitcher that's almost gotten hit by that throw. The skater really doesn't get out of the way too much and has to make a late duck. That ball doesn't hit him in the head. Watch how close this ball is to hit him in the head. It's like, whoa, hey, you gotta get down.
There wasn't a lot of room to go any further down when he kind of loaded in that squat position.
Like he was a catching position right there.
Single could add another RBI to Kirstead's impressive first couple of weeks. Healthy cut and a foul ball back.
You always feel like Kirstead's got a chance to drive one in. And a guy that just stays incredibly balanced, especially as a freshman.
Here's the 1-1. Looked like that was a little bit off the corner, but the strike was called.
Yeah, I think that ball's wide. Escada gets a little bit of a gift right there.
That's outside.
Yeah, that's way out.
Wave and a miss. Inning over. Hogs get a hit and a stolen base. And they leave a man. We have completed 7 innings. Arkansas up 4-0. SEC scoreboard somewhat incomplete. A lot of night games, but Sam Houston State wins over Vanderbilt by a run at Minute Maid Park. First of 9 games in that Shriners Hospital for Children College Classic. Tennessee in danger of losing at home.
Former Razorback assistant coach Matt Deggs, the head coach of Sam Houston State. Boy, he's really got that program in the right direction.
It's so good in the Southland Conference that even if they don't win their conference tournament, they're usually good in an at-large team in the tournament, in the NCAAs.
Good look at Jack Kinley, put in for defensive purposes over at third base, replacing Casey Martin.
Rutledge out there for a second inning. Another play for Jacks. Gates the reach, and there's one gone.
You got to love the big right-hander Jackson Rutledge coming in throwing strikes. If you're Rutledge, you got to love having a guy at shortstop named Jax Biggers that can flat out pick it.
Saved your run last inning. Remember, a big play in this game was when Perez was hit by a pitch in the first. He's going to have x-rays. Pritchard has been in there since. So 2 talented infielders. One who's already had a broken hand, who they think could be a first-round pick, and Ben Ramirez in a couple of years. And Brandon Perez, an all Pac-12 player. So Pritchard, the sophomore, has Probably going to get a lot of playing time this weekend. He had an uncle that played baseball at the University of Iowa. There we go. Cousin played for Bucknell.
The get me over fastball in 92 by Rutledge. Got a pinch hitter right here.
So Quinn. Acosta's still on the big board. But Jamal O'Quinn is batting. See his numbers, 3 RBIs and a .385 average. Nasty. From Big Nasty.
Jackson Rutledge is going to get a lot of those in his career at Arkansas.
That's not fair.
You can see that's just knees buckling, and you just walk back to the dugout. You don't even make eye contact with anyone.
Nope, head down.
Just walk back.
Fast.
The walk of shame.
Dylan Paulson, even he had a little buckle right there in a fastball. Paulson saying, was that a strike? And Rutledge is just scary enough where every once in a while he's going to miss his target by a couple of feet. And you're not going to dig in. He missed the first baseman by more than a couple of feet in a bunt play, but that was the only blemish to this point.
People ask him why he's got 99 on his jersey. He said, that's how hard I throw. He has touched 98 in this ball game once.
Hit well to right. Cole going back, reaching, extending, and making the catch in front of the bullpen. So Rutledge has 2 scoreless innings, shortening this game. It remains 4-0 Razorbacks. It was warm earlier, temperatures in the 60s. Sun's on its way down on this Friday afternoon, so time to reach for the sweatshirt. One thing that's been cool today, the bats of USC, 4-0 Hogs as we go to the bottom of the 8th. There's dinner out there in the left field corner.
Working on some ribs out there in the hog pen.
Luke Bonfield leads off the bottom of the 8th. He's knocked in 3 of the 4 runs for Arkansas. 2-run homer in the first, a ground out in the 5th. Facing the left-hander, Isaac Escada, who came on and worked in the 7th inning. Bonfield with a big cut.
So far, Arkansas hitters haven't been able to figure out Escada. Just going up there just spinning that breaking ball. And they all kind of keep, the right-handers keep spinning off each swing.
There's another. Just of what you speak.
Never one of those guys that like to face those soft lefties. Got to have a whole different approach. You got to think about shooting that ball to right field.
Escada came even further in. No swing that time. A take, 2-2.
That was a show me 89 mile an hour fastball. He showed that to him off the plate. Now you come back with that breaking ball. I'd throw it at that back right foot.
Off the fist. Out at first is Bonfield. Armenta went into a slide in front of his shortstop, which complicated getting the throw over to first. The play is made.
Really good pick by Paulson over there at first base. It's a long hop, and left-handed first baseman comes up with it. You see, that's a tough ball to handle. Bonfield's trying to help his cause and say, I'm safe, but no.
So
Nice
that's
pick.
O'Quinn at third base,
yeah.
who was actually pinch hitting for the second baseman, Pritchard. And that means Armenta's moved to second. They're keeping us guessing up here. Fletcher. Deep into the hole. Tough play for Bouchard. Dominic's getting himself an infield base hit.
Sometimes that's all you need to get going. Fletcher's really struggling at the plate, and you need a gift. Bouchard does all he can do, but you're not gonna get a left-handed hitting Fletcher on that play.
Grant Cook has a chance for a 3-hit game. No activity whatsoever in the USC bullpen. Hogs wouldn't mind another run of insurance. Very short lead for Fletcher at first. He was back on top of the bag before that throw left the hand of Escada.
Yeah, you can see that lead is really safe. It's one of those take one step and fall down leads. Get back to the base.
If he took one step and fell down, his belt buckle would be on top of the base.
I was going to say, you're exactly right.
Two runs for Arkansas in the first, two in the fifth.
You better not lose focus on Grant Cook. Anything to the middle of the plate and in. He likes the ball up in the strike zone. He'll tomahawk it over there. And Escada again showed a lot of attention to Dominic Fletcher.
Not sure I understand this. You can see the walking lead for Fletcher. Dominic was going back to the bag at first as the pitch was delivered to Cook.
But Escada better not float one in there and on the inner half.
You're going to have to help me with this one.
I think he's thrown more pitches to first than he has to the plate.
Now the Hogs have stolen 3 stolen bases today, or 3 bags. Came in with 7 all season. Ground ball to third. O'Quinn with the bobble. He's going to have to scramble to get the play at first, and he does get Cook. He's been adventuresome over there at third of this inning. Maybe a chance for a double play. Instead, Fletcher's at second with 2 gone.
Yeah, just a miscue right there, and he's lucky he's got the catcher running, or that would have been trouble.
Two outs for Jared Gates. Gates will dribble one foul near the edge of the USC dugout for strike one. The men of Troy down 4-0. Remember, USC came into this game, this series, winners of 7 straight. They lost on their opening night. They did play an exhibition game against a team from Korea a couple of days ago, and they lost that one 12-2, which was kind of unique in the middle of a season.
It's kind of a really cool experience. Dan Hubbs talked about that the director of baseball operations for that team went to USC, so he'll bring that team to the States and play several college teams.
Big bounce for the shortstop, Bouchard. Retires Gates and ends the inning. Hawks get a hit, they leave a man. To the ninth inning we go. Trojans need 4 to tie. Here's what the Trojans have done today. They've had 7 hits, but again, only 1 walk from Arkansas pitchers.
Yeah, it's been real impressive. And the big 7 left on base has really hurt the Trojans. A huge base running error early in the ball game. Had a runner on first, base hit to center field, run around second base just too far. Fletcher throws behind him and picks that runner off and really just kind of squashed that momentum that they had going right there in that inning.
That was Armenta who's on deck, and he was the one Trojan who's walked today. And then they've seen Rutledge out of the bullpen. Blake Sable 0 for 3. Sable. Chop, 1 foul.
Good job by Jackson Rutledge to come in, get 2 quick strikes. You have 4 runs. That's what Wes Johnson told him. Son, just go out there and throw strikes.
Wave and a miss by Sable.
Really pretty changeup. Good late tail right there against the left-hander. Well, if you can sprinkle in a change and a breaking ball to 96, 97, that's filthy.
My God, that's the run you want right there as well.
That is some serious movement.
And that's why you throw it to lefties, too. Not that that pitch wouldn't be effective against righties either. Armenta bounced into a double play his last time in.
Ball's clearly in off the plate.
We have more than 6,000 in the house, more than 8,000 paid today at Baum.
Should be a huge crowd tomorrow. I think I'm getting out of the way of that 96-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm down 4 runs. You need base runners, but not that bad. They've already lost 1 player to hitting in the wrist. Was Brandon Perez, so they don't need another one.
3 balls and a strike. Rutledge could pick up a save. We had a 3-inning save the other day in an 18-1 game by Zebulon Vermillion. Gano's gone full.
Rutledge 22 strikes, 11 balls of those 33 pitches.
And there's ball 4. So our Menta's been on base 3 times in the game. 22 balls, or 22 strikes rather, to 12 balls for Rutledge. Needs 2 more outs to win this game.
Arkansas is electing to play behind the runner at first base with Jared Gates.
Brady Shockey got a hit today. Take strike 1. Bonfield had a 2-run homer in the first. Hogs added 2 more runs in the 5th. Blaine Knight fought his way through 6 scoreless innings today. Rutledge has been in there since. That was 96, but out of the zone.
If you're USC right here, why don't you take that base? If they're going to give it to you, get about an extra 10 feet on your lead. stay out of the double play.
I think that makes sense. Jockey down behind, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Big Nasty Jr., Jackson Rutledge. This will not be a fastball. And a chopper up the first base side, going foul.
The Trojans did start the runner. Easily had second base stolen. Chatty's going to talk to Grant Cook. He's saying, hey, do you want me, are you going to even throw through to second base? If he's not, then Chatty's probably going to stay put in his position. He's not going to go cover the bag.
Trojans need base runners down to their final 2 outs in the 9th inning. No activity whatsoever in the Arkansas pen, so it's Rutledge's game. Runner goes, and that's why you play off the base and not hold a runner, as Gates gets the second out, conceding second to Armenta.
Yeah, I really like that defensive philosophy and positioning right there. You're right, that's just an easy chopper to Gates. If you're holding the runner on, I don't think he gets to that baseball, and I think that's going to find a hole. That's a perfect call by you, Brett. I agree. It's just Dave Van Horn just playing that chess game, 1 move ahead of the Trojans.
Caleb Murphy represents the last chance for USC. This will be the 40th pitch from Rutledge, and a good one for strike 1.
Not only have you seen the velocity with Rutledge, but you've also seen the location. He's a guy that's been hitting his spots. He's throwing the baseball where Grant Cook's setting up.
John Thomas pinch hitting for Murphy. Trojans have run in a few guys here in the later innings. USC down to its final strike and out in the 9th inning. This is a USC team that stranded 5 men through the first 3 innings of the game despite a caught stealing. So they had some opportunities. They weren't able to scratch across a run against Knight. And they're in danger of being shut out. 2-strike pitch. And the fans that have stuck around throughout this game on their feet, waiting for the final out. Trying to see the Hawks go to 6-0 at home this year. 8-2 overall. A deep breath and the 1-2 pitch. Backhanded by Bigger. It's a good pick. Good throw. Game over. And the Hawks win it 4-0.
Good victory for Arkansas against a good USC Trojan ball club. Again, Blaine Knight wasn't the sharpest, but 4-0 victory, and they'll take it any day of the week.
So Bonfield had the home run, Blaine Knight the win, and Jackson Rutledge the save. 3 pretty impressive innings out of the bullpen. Hogs win it 4-0. Don't forget game 2 of the series tomorrow. Trojans and Razorbacks at 2 p.m. Central Time on the SEC Network Plus. Fun day at the ballpark. We'll do it again tomorrow. So for Troy Eklund and our entire crew, I'm Brett Dolan saying good night from Fayetteville. It was the Razorbacks 4 and the Trojans 0. Good night, everyone.